when you're talking to somebody about a business opportunity, if you're coming to someone you know, you often know what a lot of things are they already want out of life. I mean, if they're a friend, you know what type of movies they like, what type of food they like. So you can generally come to a friend or a family member and say, listen, I think you'd find this interesting. Now, they still may or they may not. But when you meet somebody, you can't say that. You can't say, well, I think you'll find this interesting, because you don't know the person at all. But what you can do is, it's like making a new friend. You can ask them a lot of questions, start to generate some rapport, but through asking enough questions, you can start to find out what are things that are important to this person, and then based on what they've said, you can then say, well, maybe you would find this interesting to have a look at. Once I first got started in network marketing, I had some initial great success, and I found that the people around me were doing what I wanted them to do. They were trying the product, they were getting involved in the business. But then quite quickly I started to realise that not everybody had that same passion and that drive. A lot of people want a free ride, they're not prepared to work. I remember when I first got started also sitting on the couch and making a phone call to somebody who I talk to every day, and I was red in the face, I was so nervous, and I started to realise, you know what, people are thinking and looking at me a little bit different now when they're receiving a phone call. Now they know I'm involved in network marketing. So I had to overcome those fears, and what I realised was that, okay, I could do that, and I was prepared to do that through going through training and personal development. But a lot of people are not. A lot of people are not prepared to go through those fears and those barriers to really build a business. So I started to realise that not everybody's prepared to pull their weight, and not everybody's really built or has the DNA for network marketing. I guess once I recognised that not everybody was prepared to go out and do what it takes to be successful in the industry, I started to be a little bit more selective at who I invested my time in. And that was something which took me quite a while to learn, because quite naturally sometimes you want things for other people, especially if they're friends and if they're family. And so I started to realise that I could give people assignments or tests to do, which really dictated were they somebody who was going to do what it takes to build the business. So I started to be more selective at who I invested my time in. I also started to approach different types of people. Some of the weaknesses that I felt I had, if I was young, I would start to realise, well, I can introduce someone to my business who's older than me, therefore, as a team, we have that as a strength. If I come from a small country town, I can introduce someone who lived in a bigger city. So I started to be a little bit more structured about the way I approached my business, and look for really what my ideal situation was, rather than just what was around me at the time. Certainly a lot of people feel like they've gone through their warm market or through their contacts quite quickly, and especially in the early days when you are learning. When you're learning, you're burning your contacts, and you're making these mistakes, and sometimes it feels hard to go back to those same people. So I hadn't realised how to start to network to people through people. I didn't necessarily have to sponsor 100 people myself to grow my business. What I needed to do was find those few key people who did have what it took. They were prepared to go through the fears, go through the personal growth, and do the hard work. Once I'd identified those people, now they have a fresh group of influence, or a fresh circle of influence, that I could start to help them to grow their business and in turn grow my own. So really that was a process that took me a number of years to really get to understand and actually then be able to implement.